So you have taught, you've assessed, you saw that it wasn't close to what you were wanting. So then you did your lesson on how to do a short response, extended response. The students revised, and then tell us what happened after that.
Well, the results were much improved. The Part 3 assessment was more like what we were looking for from a short constructive response. But still, there were some deficiencies both on the part of the students and even in our own thinking. When you get so excited about the standards as we are, you have this vision of what you expect the final product to be. Sometimes that may or may not mesh with what a 7th grader is capable of doing.
So you're saying that simply adopting the standards didn't completely change the production of the students?
No, not at all. So we had to go back and say, well, maybe we're asking more than a 7th grader can do. So with that in mind, particularly in terms of constructing thesis statements, we had to go back again and think about, well, what is it exactly a 7th grader should and is able to do?
Right. So you figured that out as a team.
Exactly. So so the standard was hardly any guidance because basically it just says it has to have a clear thesis statement. So we had to determine what, for a 7th grader, constitutes a clear thesis statement. And we were able to actually break it down into a pattern that they could use to apply, that they could easily understand and apply to their own responses.
Show us.
Well, here's an example of a lesson that we have done to practice this, one of our jump starts.
Okay.
Where we have actually given them a topic, the best place for a perfect family vacation.
Okay.
The claim is that that place is going to be Yosemite National Park.
Okay.
And we even given the supporting evidence, recreational activities, pleasant location, and economic
Given
logic.
them the evidence, they don't have to figure it out.
Right, we're taking that out of it because we want to focus on taking this information and constructing a thesis statement.
Okay.
And from that, we were able to demonstrate for them that it could be put in a pattern. Blank, representing the topic, is blank, your claim, because blank, your supporting evidence.
And by having these two things, and using those two terms, you're using the language of the standard in this response.
Absolutely.
In this strategy.
So they can do that. They can say, oh, well, the topic is this. So they write the topic in. All right, the topic is, what was my claim? That Yosemite National Park is the best place for a family vacation. What evidence did I have? Well, we gave them the economical lodging, the activities. So their thesis statements look like this.
The best place for the perfect family vacation is Yosemite National Park because of the fun recreational activities, the beautiful scenery and a pleasant location, and the economical lodging available.
So here we have something they can use and work with. Do we want them to always do it like this? No. Do we expect at the end of the year this will be the thesis statement they would write? No, but this is a starting point.
And you're using this as your jump start. And you might have them create thesis statements another day for a jump start to practice.
And yet you can see over a 2-week period, you might be going from giving them the evidence, giving them the claim, giving them the topic, to by the end of that 2-week period, you're giving them some text.
Right.
And they're finding the topic, finding the claim, finding the textual evidence, and then constructing it.
When you read the standards and you see how central creating and supporting a claim is, it makes sense to spend some time on this isolated sort of skill building.
So we actually did that. So after we finished the Hunger Games, our next unit was on A Christmas Carol. So after we started by an introduction to the Christmas Carol by actually watching a film version of the Christmas Carol, and then we constructed some responses. So we came up with two prompts. At the beginning of A Christmas Carol, Scrooge is a mean, hard-hearted old man. Now that you know the whole story, what are the reasons that caused him to be this way? Write a paragraph explaining your answer. Be sure to include a thesis statement and a conclusion. We gave them a choice. At the end of A Christmas Carol, Scrooge is a generous, kind-hearted man. Now that you know the whole story, what are the reasons that caused him to be this way? Write a paragraph explaining your answer. Be sure to include a thesis statement and a conclusion. Mm-hmm. And you can see that when we look at the responses, what are we going to be looking for? We each have about 100 responses we're going to look at. Are we going to be able to grade for everything? No. So what are we focusing on? We're looking for the thesis statement, and we want them to have some form of conclusion. But at this point, what we're really looking for is that thesis statement.
That makes a lot of sense. Question that English teachers have been struggling with their whole, since there was an English teacher, was, how do I grade all this work? So what I hear you saying, what we've heard a lot, is you're just grading. You might read the whole thing, but you're really only assessing for that first thesis statement.
That's right.
Because that's what you're focusing
That's
on,
what- that's
your
what
instructional focus.
Exactly.
Let's share some Christmas Carol theses.
All right.
You go ahead.
Okay. At the end of A Christmas Carol, Ebenezer Scrooge, all right, there's your topic, is a kind-hearted man.
It's their claim.
Because the three spirits made him realize the true meaning of Christmas, and they made him realize that he was disliked.
Exactly. You might have said, becomes a hearted man to make it more claim, but it's still pretty good. At the end of A Christmas Carol, Scrooge was changed into a generous and kind man due to what the ghost of Christmas showed him. So he's saying Scrooge was, so was that is, right? Changed into a generous, kind-hearted man due to. So he used due to instead of because.
And that shows the growth that you're expecting. As I said, by the end of the year, you're going to not want to be able to see that formula. You want to see the depth of thought that is put into a thesis that is an original statement.
Exactly. All right, thank you very much. This is a great strategy.